Jenny, in what, 13, 14 years?
No.
And have I been the same? I'm consistent in it, aren't
Yeah,
I?
you consistently rigid though.
I
Wow,
know.
this is gonna be an amazing
You know?
show.
Yeah.
You got 53 seconds?
We on with.
And do you feel like that rigidity sometimes is a defense mechanism?
What?
Maybe you stop yourself from going there, like, I don't wanna go there, I'm just gonna push
Lawson
you away.
headphones up.
You know what?
Miss
I
Ross
don't know. I guess I
headphones,
would have to
lovely.
think about that. But
Get
for the
ready to
most
go
part,
live,
it's
you
just
guys.
that I'm just not willing to settle.
With what? You got everybody, check it out for me.
Right?
21 seconds.
The lovely.
And that's good, that's.
Yep.
Can we see your mommy
What you
okay?
doing,
Mhm.
praying?
Can we see the lovely Frida okay? You
Is that
praying?
all right?
You praying? Yeah. Believe.
Yeah, sit right there. It's all you. I'm just gonna kind of be in the background. I got some questions to ask. I found some good stuff. Okay?
Here we go, 10 seconds.
Huh? No, if that's uncomfortable, that's okay.
Sorry, here we go.
No.
What? Headphones, baby. It's all good.
No, it's not here. I'm not gonna make them uncomfortable. Nah. You gonna say that.
I'm not, see, rigid.
Good evening and welcome to the Poetry of Justice Show with Jackie Ray Phillips here on YikesRadio.com. Now you all know here on Yikes Radio, on the Poetry of Justice Show, this is where social consciousness meets the arts. And what we do here is we create topics that spark the interest and awareness of social diversity, leaving our listener thinking and saying, yikes! Awesome. And you know that voice. That is the voice of the Mr. Kevin Nash, which of course I love at this part of the time of the show to give him homage and respect for creating Accelerated Radio and Yikes Radio, which is what the platform in which I'm on, and I get to use the name Frida Ross is the Queen of Yikes, so that's really, really exciting to me. But anyway, what we want to do here tonight is, we're just going to kind of get a little mellow. We're going to relax. Darrell, I just want you to, we're going to inhale, and we're going to count to the count of 10. And we're going to exhale. Push all the negative energy out. Inhale through the nose. Count of 3. Hold the breath. Exhale. Feel your body relax from your head to your shoulders, through your back, down your spine, to your hips, across the front, down your front of your thighs, down to your feet. Complete and total relaxation. Okay, Darrell, you do that while I give homage and respect to my amazing sponsors, who are GPE, Ginger Productions and Entertainment Company, as well as APS Muscle Cars and WMPJ Steelworks. I just want to say thank you so much for your contributions to the Poetry of Justice Show and allowing this platform to continue to thrive. So, guys, tonight what we're going to be talking about, I am very blessed, lucky, and excited to have two very loving people in the studio tonight, and we will be revisiting the subject of codependency. And I'm honored to have Mr. Darrell E. Lawson
Yes.
back in the studio tonight. Now, we had Darrell in the studio back on February 2nd, and we visited the topic of codependency, and we called it the ties that bind us, Darrell. And I don't know if you kind of recall, we allowed the Spirit of the Living God, which is what we always do, but that particular night we took the time, and maybe we will do so tonight, which is to give the power of tonight's show and the energy in the studio that tonight to that of the Most High God, and to allow the meditation of our hearts and the words of our mouth to be pleasing to the spirits of that of the living God, so that what we do tonight here is helpful, to not only the healing and the recovery and treatment for ourselves, if you will, but most importantly, for our listeners and our viewers and those who may be suffering, and maybe not even the word suffering, I don't wanna say, or dealing with or finding themselves in a codependent situation. Maybe individuals really don't even know, Darrell, what that actually is, and you are phenomenal at what you do.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on. I sure appreciate it.
You're so are welcome. I also have, of course, the amazing Miss Frida Ross in the studio tonight. So Frida, can you say good
Hey,
evening to everyone?
good evening.
Yeah, what do you think about this topic of codependency? And of course, I'm going to spend some special time with you, Darrell.
Okay.
I think it's pretty heavy. Yeah, it's something to be talked about.
Now, Frida, you know we go back and forth with regard to those definitions, but we spoke back in February about the ties that bind us once again. But our standard definition was a dysfunctional helping relationship where one person support or enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. Darrell, what do you think about that particular description and what you do with your Narcotics Anonymous work and all of the amazing speaking events and things that you do? When you hear that, what sparks?
What really hit home is, those in need. Those in need. Those in need.
When you say those in need of assistance, in need of a companion, or is codependency another form of an addiction, just in another package?
The latter. It is another form of addiction, and it's in a pretty painted picture package, which I don't view as being pretty when it's unwrapped. The wrapped, the helper feel that they're helping, but really it's helping them, and it's I would say a selfless act.
Did you have an opportunity to view our the video clip for today?
Yes, I did, several times.
What did you think about it?
And everything encompassed in one.
I think what I want to know, like for the codependent relationship, can we say that almost all of us are in some sort of codependency as human beings? Do we need human comfort, i.e. Adam and Eve?
True.
What do you think?
We're either on the giving or receiving end of everyone. I don't believe everyone is the codependent. Sometimes the other person is the receiver, which is being victimized and doing more, so to speak. The needer and the needed is in a tug of war, so to speak. And the cold part about it is, most of the time, neither one is doing it on purpose. Like you said, it's an addiction. I mean, like, an addicted person don't go practice the addiction on purpose. Sometimes they're powerless over what they do.
Darrell, could you reintroduce to our listeners addiction and what that means? Just, I want like a medium grade synopsis, explanation, if you would.
Okay. And I'll use it without using drugs.
Okay.
Is when one get caught up in the grips of a habit that becomes good, then great, then a problem that you can't pull yourself out of. When the addiction part of it kicks in, you cross the line where there's almost no turning back on your own power, willpower, if you will.
Right.
It's useless.
Okay.
Willpower is non-avoidant. With all the will in your might, the power is not there to pull back and come up out of it.
Once that occurs, Darrell, how does that codependency interject? I apologize for interrupting that thought.
No, it's okay.
I apologize.
At that point, from the codependent person you speaking of,
Yes, sir.
the only interjection that can take place has to come from a power greater than the person. but they have to have the will to even come out of denial of what's taking place and want it to stop.
Now, my very good friend, Ms. Ross, always tells me through my processes is, all you have to have is a desire. Could that be a synonymous situation in you see what I'm saying? What you're saying, that will.
Of course.
You're saying you have to have that will, that desire to do so.
Mm-hmm.
At what junction, how does one know that they are in a codependent situation? To even be able to create the will or desire, if that makes sense. Darrell?
The awareness I spoke of a minute ago,
Yes.
once they become aware of it, and what makes a person aware of it is the consequences thereof.
Okay.
If I face enough consequences, which are symptoms of my addiction, my disease, my problem, the consequences come about. And they become so grave, they become undeniable to where I see it as a problem.
Well, today, I was using the phrase, who's the savior and who's the sick individual or the savior in that situation, in a codependent situation. I've been in a codependent, I think I'm in several codependent situations, but I have one codependent situation that's no longer a codependent situation, but this is the one that I kind of want to bring to the forefront, which is what led me to even suggest this show. It took me a period of time. I put it this way, I think I was almost out of the situation before I realized how dependent I was on this friend.
Right.
And he was a great friend, I think still, at that point and period in my lifetime where I needed it. It was almost like a service pet.
Right.
I know that,
Right.
but it was just, I knew that this was comforting, and I knew that this person would allow me to not, or maybe not judge me, I think is the word.
Right.
Not judge me
Right.
about the decisions that I was making at a time that could have been, like you mentioned, the consequences,
Right.
that could have been harmful
Sure.
to me. And it wasn't until I started working with Frida that it was just unadulterated, it was just clear, it was just, this is a path, Jackie, that I think you should consider.
Right.
It was not a situation where she wanted to suck me into an additional codependency situation, Joe. It was mostly a situation, let me guide you to treatment, let me guide you to recovery, let me guide you to a new creation. And through that ability and her Frida working with me, I was able to see that. And then I realized, I think at that point, so you figure I'm already in the, I don't even know what phrase it was, Frida, you're gonna be able to have to tell us that. But I began to realize that, hey, this other friendship, this isn't healthy. This isn't healthy for me. And then I tried to continue on with that friendship. And it was just cutting my spirit like a knife, and I was like, no, Jackie, y'all been cool. We've been cool a long time. We've been through a lot of stuff. It's like, how do you just let that ride, And I'm like, no, Jay, come on, Jackie, you gotta do this.
But I think that
just went
what
right.
the nature of codependency is, there's a need. There's a need for one of those individuals. Actually, there's a need for both individuals.
Right.
And when you realize that you're in that unhealthy situation and you do what you need to do to separate yourself from that, I don't think that unless both people are working on this issue, I don't think that there can be a reconnection. I don't think that you will be able to just, pick up and resume a friendship that has never been normal to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so, yeah.
How do you cut that friendship off, Darrell? So I'm coming to you, remember we talked about the vignette, so that is me, that's what I was wondering if I was gonna tell you the real deal, Holy Philip, or if I was gonna give you a vignette, but that was the real deal.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you what I did, and I want you to tell me what you recommend. You're my counselor,
Okay.
and we're in a session right now. And I just told you my situation and I'm feeling bad about it. Actually, I'm feeling troubled about it to a point where it's almost taking me back to bad habits that I don't want to revisit. So how do I cut this codependency off? Do I just never speak to this person again? Do I just block this person out of my life? Mr. Lawson, what do I do?
I suggest you, for the whole of your spirit, for your own peace, you address it. You don't just cut it off. No, you address it.
In
You
what-
have to address it
Like in what way?
with the individual.
Really?
Yeah, and let them know where you are, how it has affected you, and why you must do what's best for yourself, not personally to them. Have nothing to do with them per se. It's all about you at this point. But it's something you have to do.
I can't just skate
And
and
if
do
I
it go?
could
I can't
interject,
just boom, just,
That wouldn't be right.
really?
yeah.
Hold on that, I need to know why.
I think, just to interject there, you can, like he's saying, you address it with the individual. And I think you have to make perfectly clear, especially because some of the times the codependent relationship is with family members. So there's no way that you're gonna be able to just, cut them off and be cut and dry, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But you have to redefine and reframe that relationship. You know what I'm
What
saying?
if that other person is not willing to receive the
They-
redefinition?
They don't have to. It's
not about that person.
it's about you
Okay.
trying to be well. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I say you'll never be able to be unless that person also is doing some work to become healthy. You will never be able to be in a relationship with that person, again, because if that person is not doing any type of work in that
Mhm.
area, you're either gonna be drug into that
Back into
again,
it, correct.
or that person is gonna get well, gonna try to get well the same way that you do. You
Right,
understand what I'm
for
saying?
sure, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, so I said that you can't, but I guess when you're talking about family,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, you have to still deal with them. So, but like I said, you redefine that relationship. You know how far you're gonna go
Right,
with that individual. You know how long a conversation can be
Right.
before you begin to feel uncomfortable. You know
Mhm.
how long you can be around this individual before you begin to feel uncomfortable. And you just learn how to maneuver those situations to where it's in your best interest, I think.
now what if it's not a family member, can you just come off still, or no? Alright.
But can you just what?
You did the cutoff, I don't understand why I can't.
My point was,
Sugar cane, Darrell.
I'm gonna tell you why, from my perspective. Number one, you're doing this for you. So how could you, as an individual, not considering the person or what they're gonna feel, is what you're gonna feel? Are you the type of person that can cut people off and forget about them and let it go and not? Now, whatever caused this is still in you. So by cutting them off, it's still in you.
Okay,
Where do you let it out?
okay.
How do you ever address it? How do you ever get better? You start at the source of the problem.
Do you think that can go back to stoic?
Sure.
I'm concerned, is that a stoic thing? I mean, I saw your head
Yeah,
go
yeah,
up when I
yeah,
said stoic,
yeah.
what's up?
Well, it
You gonna
is.
say something?
It is, but it shouldn't be.
It should not be.
No, that's not healthy either. Now, what you wanna do is clear your spirit, clear your conscience, where you can lay down at night knowing that you didn't wrong nobody, trying to get right. How can you try to get right and wrong somebody? Like Frida said a minute ago, the person may be unaware of the harm they caused, or they might be this type of person. Whether they are or not, it's not about them. It's about you clearing your conscience and your spirit
Got it.
before you turn the other way. Because you can carry this and go find another person and do the same thing if you still carrying them in you, or someone could have your best interest at heart and you would think or feel that type of person that person was, and react to them and get it out because you didn't get it out. You know what I mean?
I do,
Yeah.
I hear what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Like a relationship, you carry baggage from another relationship, here you go, you need to unpack that suitcase. That suitcase, right there where it got packed, walk away empty, and be
Start,
to receive.
got it, because because the baggage is still full.
Of course, and if you
It's
just walk
residue.
away, you put a full bag away with you.
Okay.
No, that's not healthy.
Have you ever found yourself in a codependent scenario of that not of that nature, but something that you found to be powerful, struggle, that you had to really, can you describe it or talk with us about it at all?
Which one?
You want to try? Let's go for it, shoot, this is codependency, cause I mean, I'm sharing mine, you know, so something that, where maybe for instance, because I know obviously you did it better than the choice I made, but there's always
Not necessarily
redemption,
so.
right? If one were to discuss it with the codependee and the codependor,
Mhm.
or the sick and the savior. So that, I think, cause I feel like the sick and the savior can kind of be the same people almost, depending on the
Sure.
situation.
And you don't always have to walk away. When you address this and become aware of this, the person that wasn't aware of what they were doing could become aware, and they could start working on what they were doing, and you could start working on what they were doing to you, and find a common place at that point.
Okay.
That's my experience.
Okay,
One of
cool.
my wife and I was very dependent on my wife at one point during my addiction. And unbeknownst to her, she was codependent on me to need her for a long time.
Is she a savior in that situation, Darrell?
Pardon me?
Is she the savior?
Oh, yeah, sure. Her, my mother, my sister, all of them was my savior, but she was my primary savior, like, right there the whole time. I go to jail, she was coming to jail too.
Mhm.
Go to a program, she was coming too. And when I come back ragged and tore up and feet hurt, she opened it all. You know what I mean? And like, in a right mind would ask a person who would, that's her family member was asking her, like, why would you?
Mhm.
What's wrong with you? What was wrong with her is that she needed me. To need her.
She needed to be needed?
Yeah, of course, of course. This is something that we have addressed and talked about. And it went from her needing me to need her from her needing me.
Okay. Has that dependency evolved to a more healthier scenario, would you say, between you and Mrs. Lawson?
Yeah, and, cause we traded places.
And you're the savior.
Yeah, but I'm aware of my place. When she was unaware of her place, when she was on the other end,
Does that make it a little healthier?
a little healthier, I would say. And
But is codependency a part of a relationship slash marriage?
of course.
So how,
course.
when do we cross the boundary? When is it just too friggin' much? You know what I'm saying?
When one start taking one for granted.
Can you give me an example?
I know you're gonna be there, so I'm gonna use you purposely, for my purpose, not yours. I'm gonna actually drain you. I'm gonna make sure you are drained, for you won't, nothing else.
But then how is the other person being really saved if the Savior's exhausted? So now are we in a sick, afflicted? I like that word sometimes.
You can save me, just don't save nobody else. Don't save nothing else, just save me.
Selfish.
Yeah, of course.
Is that a good thing? Can selfishness be a good thing?
Self-care.
Self-care?
But in this case that we
Not in
just
the codependent
talking about, no.
situation. Also, I'd like to interject
Please
too,
do.
that when you asked about, oh my God, what was the question? When the person, that codependent person, like, you know, let me put my comment out, cause I can't remember exactly the dialogue that was delivered, but
Yes.
when, it gets really bad, I think, and that was kind of what was being said,
Kind of
right?
crossing the line.
Yeah, when the line gets crossed, I would beg to differ, is because when the line is crossed, when I no longer, as the codependent, I no longer can care or do anything that's good for me.
Mm.
It's all about me saving you. It's all about me keeping you in a position of need and me in the position of being needed. You just get, you get lost in that. You know what I mean? You get lost in that, and I think that it's kind of impossible not to know. It's kind of impossible not to realize that it's happening or that it has happened. But what's hard and what's almost impossible is to come out of that, because what I'm learning is that codependency is it's a mental thing.
Okay.
It's a mental thing. Some would call it a mental health disorder.
I think we talked about
Right?
that. Yes.
So, yeah, when you know, once you've crossed that line and where your needs and your wants just, you know, it doesn't even matter. It's just all about me needing to make you okay and making sure that you continue to have that need for me.
That's it.
Because if you don't have that need for me anymore, then I'm invaluable. You know what I'm saying?
What does that person do? You see what I'm saying? How does that person adjust? Because it's almost like that. Obviously the tables are turning. So it's almost like you're saying that savior is almost becoming sick now, because now that
Well, that
person
savior is sick to
is
begin
making
with.
you continue in your cycle of illness, so that they can continue to save you, to be Captain Saver.
And it's done unconsciously.
Okay.
They don't even know it.
Now, in my case, I outgrew the situation. Yeah,
Through what would be the growth?
recovery.
And is that why it's very important that family members are participants in the recovery process, so
Very.
that they can understand the shift and the change?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would recommend family members take 12 steps with the members. I mean, for real.
Have you ever seen some families actually do it or attempt to do so?
My sister didn't do 12 steps. She didn't work them, but boy, she was with me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
You know?
I do. Frida, in your situation, do you have a scenario that you can share with us with regard to codependency?
You know, I've been sitting here trying to think, well, I'm pretty sure that there is. I'm pretty sure that there has been. But just right off the bat, I can't really just come up with one in particular. And I think that that's because, and again, this is gonna go back to this type of person and demeanor that I have, and that I've always had, you know what I'm saying? Even in the throes of addiction, where, you know, I can just turn stuff off. I can just turn it off, you know what I'm saying? When it needs to be turned off, I can just turn it off. And when something begins to make me uncomfortable, when something begins to not feel good to me on the inside, right?
Yes.
I have developed, you know, a mechanism with them. I can just turn it off. I can just turn you off, because that's gonna be more healthy for me than it would be for me to continue on with something that has become unhealthy
Yes.
or that has been unhealthy, right? I'll just turn it off.
Okay.
Now, have I went back and revisited sometimes? Yeah. But I've had the ability to just turn things off, right? And I don't think that that's all that healthy either, because I'm not really working through
Right. You just
the stuff.
Is it what we kind of talked about earlier, about like you just cutting it off? Same thing?
Yeah, I'm not working it out. I'm not, you know, I'm not addressing.
But that's healthier for you though.
Not necessarily. Like I say, you know, like I'll say that it works for me.
Okay.
I don't say that it's healthy, you know, and what is healthy and what is a good thing is that I am very aware of my indiscrepancies in that area, right? And I think that that's the first step to healing, is becoming aware that
That it exists.
something is a problem, yeah.
But I can just say yes. What do you think about that, Darrell?
I agree. to a point. And I'll say to a point because like I said earlier, at some point you still got that bag packed. But then, like she said, awareness is the key. I spoke about that earlier. We must be aware of what's taking place. Now, if I drag this bag away with me, I must know that I got this bag. And at some point, I need to unpack it somewhere, somehow, before it won't affect me in other areas or with other people.
Okay, I mean, like, can it affect our physical health holding on to this type of baggage as well as our mental health? Can it be
Depending
affected,
on
you
the
see what I'm saying, like holding on to too much baggage?
Depending on the situation.
I think that if it's an abusive situation, if it's a physically or mentally, psychologically abusive type of situation, and you don't unpack that baggage and you continue to carry that suitcase, oh yeah, it'll make you sick, it'll make you real sick.
Now, Frida, before the show, we talked a little bit about, there was some information that you gathered, that you talked about sharing with us. I'm thinking maybe now would be a good time, if you don't mind pulling up that little article and sharing it with Mr. Lawson, and we can dig into that, if that's okay.
Okay, I had, basically, we had the same thing, what you brought it up earlier, but this particular, thing that I found about the codependent relationship, think of the most unhappy couple you've ever met. Hopefully you're not a part of that duo, it says. You may wonder why these people are still together. Adults are willing participants in partnerships. And as unhealthy as a relationship may be, there can be gains for both parties. And it goes on to say, common reasons for sticking together in codependent relationships. And I'm gonna tell you why this is so profound to me. It says, it includes children, finances, the time that's been invested, the fear of the shame that may come with splitting up. Now what rings, loud in my ears is what is not said about these type of relationships and why people stay in them. It said kids, find money, time invested, fear of splitting up with that person, but it don't say a damn thing about love.
Wow.
What?
Not at all. Because in a codependent relationship, that's just not love. It's just not. That's a person's need for you to need them and their need to be needed. And without that, I'm just, I'm nothing. I don't, you know what I'm saying? But that's what was really profound to me, is all those things that it came up with, but love wasn't one of them.
Could love be the common, just like a common denominator, more or less, like a given?
It wasn't,
I don't know.
it's not there.
Even like in the sense of speaking on these terms outside of love, because love is there, but we don't speak on the other things, is what you're saying?
Right.
That's possible. Then you have some people similar to that, that's in love with the idea of being in love, when love is not really the equation anyway, it's the idea of being in love. I need you to love me, and I need to love you, but somewhere that's in the middle, cutting off the act of love itself. I mean, we could say love all day long. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Do we treat the person like that? Do we need us, or do we really like be there with them, be there for us? If I make sure you have everything you need, you make sure I have everything I need, we're in love. I'm not needing you to need me. I'm gonna make sure you're okay. You're gonna make sure I'm okay because we
Of the
each
love,
other.
right.
I'm gonna always make sure you're okay. You can't tell me you have a problem without me making sure your problem is all right, just out of
Right.
love. If I think you need it, I'm gonna give it to you out of love. I don't need you to need it
Right,
just because you need it. And I love you, I'm gonna make sure you're okay.
okay.
So I'm gonna rely and depend on and trust that you're gonna make sure I'm okay. Reciprocate it
Right,
both ways.
and that's our healthy love balance.
I would say so.
That would be healthy.
Yeah.
So what if, so is perhaps the institution of marriage, could that be a codependency situation in and of itself, more or less? Because we do find oftentimes, couples, when you talked about when people's situations, relationships, Frida, finances, kids, time invested, so I'm thinking time invested in a relationship, and or time invested in that marriage, and then like you mentioned again, the fear and or the shame of breaking that off. You know what I mean? My point is, I mean, they just kinda.
I don't think the institution itself,
Itself.
no,
Okay.
I think the parties, that's a
individuals.
part of that institution, you know, that's in that situation.
If I may though, the marriage vows almost indicates that. It's like these ties that bind,
Right,
if I
right, ring.
may, is going to make sure that somebody gonna need somebody. Sickness, health, whatever, somebody gonna need somebody. And I'm vowing to, whatever condition,
Forsaking all of
yes, and beat it.
But that's assuming that that union was built on,
Love.
yes,
I agree. I agree. True.
right?
Yes.
And it's not assuming,
Yeah,
that's
it's right.
knowing that this union and its foundation
Right. Very
is
important.
what it's supposed to be from the gate,
Right.
right? And I think that's wherein lies a lot of our problems, you know what I'm saying? In not just interpersonal relationships, but you know what I'm saying, in friendships and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I think that, and I'm a real good person for this, right? Like, I don't have lots of friends, right? And I just never have. Because it just has never worked out for me. And I think that when you enter into relationships like that, friendships, girlfriend, boyfriend, marriages and stuff like that, people need to really be honest. And you need to check your motives for why am I entering into this? Like, what is the reason that I want to be in this type of relationship with you, right? And a lot of times, if a person will answer honestly,
Yes.
it won't have anything to do with because I love him. You know what I'm saying? Or because I love her. A lot of times. A lot of times it will, right? It was somebody say, don't marry the person. What did they say? Don't marry the person that you can't. I don't know, it's something, it's heavy, it'll come to me though, but you understand what I'm saying, you have to check your motives, and so back to the
Intentions.
point is that, you know, those vows, yeah, they're heavy, and they do, you know, allude to, or you would think that they kinda foster a codependent, right, atmosphere, but I don't think that's so, because if you go into that coupling healthy, then there is no codependent. I don't think that there has to be a codependent situation going on in relationships. I don't think it has
could
to
be the
be.
situation I spoke of a minute ago, pure love.
Love.
I'm gonna make sure you're all right because
Yeah.
I love you, and I know you're gonna make sure, I know you got me, because you love me. Point.
Now, is there times in a relationship where one person is a little more vulnerable than the other? Yeah, yeah, you know.
And that's where like the 80-20 rule comes in. It don't have to be 50-50. Sometimes you can only pull 20, I need 80 at that point, we still have 100. We still have 100.
And then if both parties are 100%, you just.
That's key. That's how you end up in codependent relationships. When both parties are not at 100%.
Oh, and they're not, okay, I thought you said both.
When they're not.
Right.
You know, people be talking about 50-50.
You need to be
You know what I'm saying? Nah, I need you to be 100% all you can be, and I need to be 100% all I can be, or else we operating from a deficit.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work in the real world.
No,
but-
and
It makes
probably
sense.
not.
But it
you
does
know.
make sense.
It definitely
Yeah.
does make
And
sense.
but I think that that's where we fall short going into relationships. You know what I'm saying? I'm operating at 30%. You know, I got low self-esteem.
Right, right.
I got these issues with past relationships. I got this going, the luggage,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then I meet this cat, and you know, I can dress, I can fix it up, I can put the makeup on, I can put the hair on, I can put the clothes on, and put on some heels, and it looks outstanding.
Right.
He's coming in, and he's feeling real good about who he is, and he's capable to do what it is that needs to be done in a relationship, but I'm not.
Right.
There is the perfect storm for creating that codependent relationship. And I think when you be meeting people and starting to date people and stuff like that, and certainly before you marry them, you know, you need to be wanting to know what's going on with you up there. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get in there.
Right.
Right? I'm trying to get in there because I can't make you happy.
What about if you just fall in there? You hear me?
Yeah.
What you mean?
You just fall in there. You said, I'm trying to get in there. What about if you just fall in there? You with me?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
The term fall in love didn't come out of nowhere. You
Right.
fall in there. You wasn't even pursuing love. It could have been lust. And you fell in it.
Yeah, that
You found
happens.
yourself in a place that you wasn't planning on being. Now you with this, maybe not 100%.
That
You there?
segues us into, because Frida, you started, and you and Whitley, on that line of thinking, which we talked about in our video clip tonight, the pimp prostitute
Oh, wow.
relationship.
Mm.
Baby, I'm
Codependent.
gonna need you
At
to
its
chime in,
best.
get ready to say something for me.
I can talk about some bad things.
And the first
Oh,
time
on
I
this-
saw
on
that,
this.
I was like,
Wow.
damn. But I understood immediately
What's that, the clip?
the concept.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I understood immediately the thought process of whoever put that, you know, pen to paper. I got it. Because basically when you look at codependent relationships, that's just kind of what's going on. The
Prostitute?
yeah. Do you see the correlation? I think, yeah.
But what I wanna say about that, Darrell, what do you feel about that particular type of situation? Because I'm thinking, are we looking at a codependent situation to say that if this is a negative thing, or this is just an is thing? Because there's so many situations, in my opinion, that people find themselves falling into, but we talked last time about there's usually a trauma. There's some sort of trauma
Yeah.
that has taken place
Sure.
that even causes the susceptibility, if you will, to even be in a scenario of codependency.
Right.
So now let's say that trauma has occurred, I'm a young girl, I'm 18 years old, my father died, my mother is on drugs now, it's just me, there's this older gentleman, he's 5 years older, he wants to take care of me, and I need to be taken care of.
That's a perfect storm.
Now, let's use the word storm, okay? I hear you, 8,000, storm.
I got another word for you to put in there too.
Why, give me yours.
Vulnerable.
Frida, I love you, but I like vulnerable better than storm.
You know me, I'ma just go there.
It's like,
Right?
yeah.
I'ma just go there.
So let's say that's the scenario. Is that a good thing? I mean, it's just an is thing, is what I'm saying.
That's what I say, because to say is a good thing or not a good thing, will be placed in judgment.
Is it,
And if you go prostitute and pimp, you go all the way back to biblical times. Like that's been going on forever. It's been going on forever, man. And some get caught up in the addiction of it. Some get caught up in the I need a daddy of it. Some get caught up in the man get caught up in the I have power. You know. And this
I'm glad you said that, because codependency does also have a lot to do with having power and control over the sick person.
Yes. And the girl prostitute is sick from the
Yes.
trauma.
Mm-hmm,
She's
See?
vulnerable, she's wide open.
mm-hmm.
But why does it have to be a storm freedom? Why can't it be a comfort zone? Why he can't be that sugar daddy just, and I'm Trixie the bottom bitch? Why,
Because she's not
why
well.
is that not right?
Because she's not well. Her
She's
mama's
not
on
well.
drugs, she done lost her father, she's young, she needs, she's got some growing to do, and she might very well do it. I'm not saying that, situations can't change. Situations can't change. But both parties, if you want this to continue to be a couple situation, both parties have to be willing to do what needs to be done to make that change. If one person changes and the other one is still unwell, there's gonna be problems. Now, we might stay
Right.
and weather those, we
The
might
storm,
just, we
the
might
storm.
just stay, you know what
Right,
I'm
yeah,
saying, no
yeah.
matter what, but it's still unhealthy.
Got it.
You know what I mean? It's still unhealthy. And they talk about how oftentimes, you kind of brought that up, how the tables turn.
Yeah.
The tables turn. There has to be another dynamic when one person is doing the work to get better and the other one isn't.
It's not.
There has to be another dynamic that happens in order for the person who has made themselves well to stay in that situation. Does that make sense?
Yes. I mean, you hear about the prostitute who outgrow being pimped and want to become independent, not prostitute, but go to school and change her life or whatever, or get pregnant, want to raise a child and want to be healthy. You hear about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, she outgrow the situation, and yeah, the roles reverse, and she, hey man, look, I can't do this no more.
Mm-hmm.
Or she move on to get her somebody with.
That's what I'm talking
I've heard of that
about.
too.
Boom.
I've heard of that too. But
That's
the
not
bottom
good
bitch
either,
theory you
though,
talked about, right, with the pimp, sometimes it can be comfortable for both if he's not abusive. And
Right.
he give her everything she need or never had before. And he be the sugar daddy that she really like catered
Need.
to. She needed.
Maybe she
Yeah.
needed it.
She needed.
Mama
And
said
he needed,
this
and
was, yeah.
both parties got what they need, and they're happy. Who am I to say?
What I wanna
It's
say,
not
is
healthy
it
for them.
okay to what, I don't wanna say what, is it okay to live in that? In that, is it okay to just be, this is how we roll?
Millions and millions
I
of
say
people
it is.
do.
What about you, Emmett? Is that okay to just,
Hey,
this
If
is
you
how we
like
roll?
it,
We
I
just
love
gonna
it.
live in this sickness?
If it's working, you know,
That part.
if it's working
Is that
for you,
you?
man, yeah.
If it's working for you, and I mean, if both parties got a smile on their face and they happy, man, I mean, like, who or anybody to judge them and say you shouldn't?
I think more people than not stay
Right,
in
Right.
situations that are not optimal.
for sure.
Yeah.
For the fear, the stigma, we talked about, the stigma, the willingness. And then, but what about if you just become comfortable in it? You just
That's what
decide,
happens. It's easy to be.
hey,
It's easy to be.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's not all
It wouldn't be all right with me.
right.
It's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right for, like I said, if you like it, I love
The
it.
truth, Jackie.
It's like my
The
mom.
No,
truth,
really.
Right, the truth. My truth varies from your truth, because the truth is that which works.
The truth is the truth. When you think about the truth is that which
Works.
works.
Yes. As long as it works. This is my belief system.
Like I said, is it working? How's
I'm
that working
operating on
for
this,
you?
and it's working for me. This is my truth. I lived on my great-grandmother's truth for a long time, before I found out different and found my own truth, based on the same thing that she told me.
Which was?
God gonna punish you. I didn't hear God is forgiving God, that you gonna be all right. You can one day change your life and use your life to help other people and be forgiven for the wrong you did. All I heard was, God gonna punish you, you going to hell.
How long did that stick in your brain?
So I was about 15
And how long did it traumatize you?
years later, till I was about 39.
You just kept that you knew.
Yeah, it wasn't until I got into recovery that I even realized that I wasn't a bad person.
How much of that thought process that washed your brain into a specific perception of life, how long did that plague you? Cause you should have said, did you really believe, I'm gonna go to hell, God gonna get me, I'm gonna go to hell?
Yeah.
Could that
Yeah.
thought that's right in
Most of my
here,
young adolescent, teenage, and young adult life, I believed that.
and did that
like,
contribute to more
Of
delinquency?
course, why do right if everything wrong already anyway? Why even try? And I'm going there. Yeah, fuck it. I'm going already. I'm gonna put some gasoline draws
Right.
on and be
Boom.
boom, blow up.
See?
That was my
Damn.
thought process for a long time. And I may have used it as an excuse to continue, you know, but I'm,
Now you done out tricked the shit now.
right, I'm defective too, you know what I mean? Somebody uses it as an excuse, like,
Right.
hey, my work, you know, I can roll on this, I can ride this, until my truth changed. And I became aware of,
I'm getting ready to ask you, why does one's truth change?
Okay.
If truth is what works for you, why would truth change?
it stopped working.
Ah.
Why does it stop working?
Because we grow.
No shit.
I don't mean.
No shit. Now what I've been
I
saying?
don't mean stay with me.
What
I
have
don't
I
mean a
saying?
chronological growth.
I know what you're
I mean
talking about.
biological growth.
I
Spiritual
know.
growth.
I know.
Mental growth.
Growth.
I
Awareness
know.
growth.
Okay.
You ain't gonna gain 150 more pounds and that changes. No, we know
No.
it's not that.
Right.
That
I grow
I've
from
been
one area
saying.
to another.
Why? When
and
does it stop working?
my eyes open and I can see.
Almost like a road to Damascus, Apostle Paul moment, just a spiritual epiphany, if you will.
Yes.
A burning bush, just
Boom.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but you know what?
That burning
The
bush.
cold piece is when that doesn't ever happen, and that happens.
Yes, it
So
does.
the
Yeah.
revelation, if you will,
Some
never.
people never get that epiphany.
That's
Some
true.
people never see that burning bush. Some people will never have that aha moment
Stay blind.
because they are comfortable.
in the
It's working.
And they truth.
Their
That's
truth
the
is
God's
working.
truth is
That's
working.
truth.
It's
But the
working.
And won't hear no other truth.
What types of things stops the truth from working? I need you to tell me about that, Mr. Lawson, because
What stops?
when you said your truth stopped working, so that's when that shift changed.
Mm-hmm.
What type of momentum, power, forces can cause that shift?
Paradigm experience.
What about pain?
Going, that too? That too? That too?
Love.
This truth can cause me pain to where I look the other
I'm
way and
forced
see
to
something else,
change.
forced to change. But if I may, the growth process through the paradigm experience, like going through a dark tunnel, like I use me, going through my addiction, living upside down, with the truth that I walked into it with, worked for a while. And at some point, using drugs didn't work, drugs started using me. Going out of that, I found another truth about me, life, my whole
Mm-hmm.
perception changed.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a change, it was a transformation,
Mm-hmm.
because I never had to go back. Change can be changed back.
Mm-hmm.
I came out of that truth to live another truth, never to go back to that truth again, because it did not work and it will not work. I've had experiences of trying to make it work and it didn't, so I don't need to, I've been transformed to another area, another space in my life to where I can see without using my eyes, I can feel without using my hands.
A renewal
I
of your
can
mind.
hear without using my ears, yes. Renewal in my hindsight and everything else.
Where does that power, that energy, where would you say that resides in the body? When the seven chakras, but just, when you feel that energy, when you speak of it, where in your body do
In
you
my
feel
soul,
it?
right here, right in the core, in the middle, like in the heart. You know, the heart ain't always the one that pumps the blood, it's the
It's
heart.
that.
It's the center core of your being.
Yeah,
That's where I feel it at.
and then it grows out.
Yeah, it feeds everything.
Right. Yeah, just that, right.
Yeah, and I have those moments, like I've cried for no reason other than gratitude. Just out of nowhere, just cry, just cry.
As a part of that transformation.
Yes, ma'am. Just so grateful to
Mm-hmm.
be alive and well, and 10 fingers, 10 toes, the very thing that people take for granted. Like, I realize now how important they are, you know?
When you
Mhm.
come across the codependent person, situation or scenario, how do you help us look out for that, and what can you tell our listeners? It's almost time for wrap up, guys, we got about 5 minutes, so I just want, Dale, if you could, because what your work that you do, let our listeners know a couple of resources, if you will, and what types of things they can do. If they think, based on our discussion tonight, they are, or someone they know, perhaps are in an unhealthy, codependent relationship.
Get help.
Where do I go, Mr. Lawson? I'm confused. All I have is my cell phone. I don't know what to do.
You have,
Where do I go on my phone? What do I do?
you Google therapy.
Okay.
Therapist, like where can I find a therapist? Where can I find a consultant? Where can I find a counselor? Where can I find a confidant? Because it's all about getting it out, no matter to whom you get it out.
Are these resources expensive once I go on there? Or how am I gonna be
They
able to
have
pay for
some
this,
that
Mr. Lawson?
accepts Medi-Cal, they have some that are free, they have some, if you talk to someone and they don't give you the answer, get the referral to someone who will, let them know of your financial situation or their lack of, and
Okay.
they'll point you in the right direction. One thing I do know about this field, if you call me seeking help, I can't let you go without helping you or referring you to help that can help you. So you may have to make 4 or 5 phone calls, but you're gonna get the help, but you start somewhere.
Okay, can people start with you all? I mean, I don't know if you can provide some information, Mr. Lawson, your information, an email, or, yeah, if you could go ahead and provide?
My email is Lawson.Darrell, and
Okay.
that's spelled LAWSON dot DARRELL 32, that's 3 and 2,
Okay.
@gmail.com. They can email me. They can
Okay.
also phone me, 310-864-0135. I'm always available to help others.
Right.
My life is about helping others.
Right.
My purpose is a purpose-driven life, like, and I serve my purpose on purpose.
Because my concern is the safety of it. Not, because codependency relationships are always sometimes, could be synonymous with that of some sort of an abusive situation.
Oh,
So when you are
absolutely.
beginning to consider your exit strategy, I just always wanna let our listeners know that safety's first, safety's key. So, you know, be discreet, you know, in terms of doing that Googling process and
Right.
making sure you're covering your tracks, just in case, particularly when we talk about the dominant and submissive type of pimp prostitute situation.
One thing I found out is anything you Google and put .com behind it, you're gonna get a link.
Okay,
Anything you Google and put a hashtag in front of it, you're gonna get a link.
okay,
Anything you Google and put hotline in back of it, you're gonna get a number to whatever services that you're seeking.
got it.
And also, I would add that when you, if you're thinking or feeling that you might be in this situation, if it's not an abusive situation, you know what I'm saying? I tell people all the time, read, I gave you something to read, right?
Yes, you did.
And I'm like, now you let me know.
Where do I fall on this?
Are you, if you fall on it at
Yeah.
all, right? So I would
True.
say to, go online and read about codependency.
Yes.
And read about it in depth. Don't
Okay.
just read a couple of paragraphs. Find one of the books, 2 of the books online, and see if you can identify with 90% of what you just read. And if you can, then you can, you know what I'm saying? I need
Start
to
doing the
reach
work.
out. Yeah, do what you need to do to make
All
the
right,
changes.
Mrs. Lawson and Frida Ross, we've had a good
Good show.
discussion. Codependency, everybody, it can happen to any of us. Shit.
Mhm.
I'm a little spooked out because my storm is, I'm vulnerable storm. Anyway, I don't even know where I am on the spectrum. Shit.
Give me 2
Anyway.
minutes. What you think about all that?
Right.
Man, that was heavy today.
That was heavy.
Yeah.
You know, you just gotta be happy on your own
Hmm.
before you try to bring it to the table.
What was we just?
That's real.
What was
And
we
I
just
think,
talking about?
I'm gonna reach over there.
100%.
I think a lot of times we're forced to try to figure out women, try to make y'all happy.
Right.
Oh, I'm messed up, make me happy.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? You need to be happy by yourself before you come over here and decide. You know what I'm saying?
You have to have something to offer.
Exactly.
100%.
100%.
Boom.
Boom.
Here
Right
on the
on.
Poetry of Justice Show with Jackie Ray Phillips on the YikesRadio.com. Thank you.
Thank you.